Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Warren City Schools Board of Education meeting. We are meeting via Zoom and WFCN with live stream available at warrencityschools.org. Today is the regular meeting. It is Tuesday, October the 20th, 2020. This meeting is a meeting of the Warren City Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participating via email during the meeting as indicated in agenda item number 11. And with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And can you please call the roll?
Mr. Faulkner?
Present.
Mr. Fowley?
Here.
Mrs. Patterson?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Present.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Here. Everyone is present and accounted for. And I would just like to take a moment before we move into the meeting to thank our Warren City Schools family on behalf of myself and my children, Alexandra, Christopher, James, Marissa, Elena, and Michael, on the recent passing of my husband and their father. And I would try and maintain control during this. You know, Bob made a comment to me about that, you know, now is our time of mourning and that our joy is coming. And it occurred to me that we had 30 years of joy. And a lot of that was within Warren City Schools. And we were blessed to raise our family in the community of Warren. And we were ultimately blessed to have our children come through the Warren City Schools and graduate and go on to their careers, furthering their education, etc. And I just wanted all of you and the Warren City Schools family to know that all of your love, your kindness, your prayers have really carried us through these past week and a half, and we can feel that lifting us through this sorrow as we are trying to just find our new way without Bill. But we wanted to thank all of you. You'll never know how much all of you have meant to us. So thank you. So with that, I'm going to ask that we recess into executive session under the provisions of Ohio Revised Code 121.22. The Warren City Board of Education recessed to executive session at 5:33 p.m. to discuss B, the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, C, conference with an attorney involving pending legal action, and F, matters required to be kept confidential by state or federal law. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Faulkner.
Is there a second?
Fowley.
Thank you. And call the roll, please.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes. And we will now move into executive session. We will be returning, for those of you that are watching, we will be returning once we are completed with that. So we'll be joining you again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are now reconvening the meeting. The time is 6:11 p.m. And if we could all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I have a flag right here. You can see on my screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now we'll move on to the communications, a piece of the agenda. Mr. Shiro, do we have anything? Can you hear me?
He's muted and he walked away.
Oh, okay. Well,
He's back.
That's Lacey.
that's
Well-
Mr. Lacy.
See?
Maybe he didn't think he'd be up that quick.
He's probably heading back to WSCN.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just wait a second then. Is he on? Oh, unmute yourself. There you go.
All right, I apologize. I would say that our measures for energy efficiency are working because I can't turn the lights back on in the library after hours. So we're doing well as far as that endeavor. The only communication that I have this evening, and I don't want to trouble Mr. Faulkner, but I do have to say that we're very excited that one of our students, Michaela Powell, is the Student of the Month at TCTC for October. So
All right.
Mr. Faulkner will talk more about but under his TCTC report. But great news, Student of the Month for one of our students here at Warren G. Harding High School over at TCTC.
Good.
So that concludes my communications for this evening.
Okay, thank you. On agenda item number 5, the adoption of the agenda. If I could please have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
So move.
Is there a second?
A second.
And call the roll. Good luck.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner. You're mute.
Yes.
And Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. Agenda item number 6, the treasurer's report.
The only thing I wanted to discuss was it was brought to my attention today that we'll be getting another refund from Bureau of Workers' Compensation, the 100% of the 2019 premium. So we're looking to get about $350,000 from.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yep.
That's excellent. I think that we should put that
Mhm.
the workers' comp related concerns we have in the district.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, agenda item 7, the superintendent's report.
I have one item that I just wanted to bring up today. We had planned, parents have asked, are we talking about staying in the hybrid for the second 9 weeks? What are our plans going into the second semester? Again, just like we were dealing with in July, going into August, we can't make these decisions until right before they come on board. But I do want families to know and understand that we had a plan in place that we were going to bring our elementary students, our K-5 students, back to school 4 days a week. And we worked on our end to get the class sizes to what they are. We got shield guards on the desks that we ordered, have in the district. And we had everything in place, transportation, routing, and we were working with our local health departments. And the day we were going to launch this information, I became aware that our county was going to go red again due to the coronavirus cases. And at that time, it was ill-advised by local health officials for us to make any change in our delivery model of services. So I want to be really clear. It's my goal to get students back in school 5 days a week. If we do it in phases, however we do it, the time is just not now. And I did a video out to our staff members in the district explaining that this remains our goal. It remains our target. Today's not the day. This week is not the week. Our cases of community spread is at a high point, and bringing students back to school other than our current model is just not the best decision that we could make from a safety standpoint. As it relates to January, we will spend a lot of time between Thanksgiving and this end of December deciding what we're going to do. We may continue our current model of education through the end of the year. We may, if conditions change, be able to bring our students back to more than 2 days a week in January. But if the conditions we have today are the conditions that we have in January, nothing's going to be any different that we have. In fact, Governor DeWine alluded that if things don't change, school for students in person is at risk across the state. I think that was a DeWine hint. That was a DeWine hint that full online learning could be right around the bend if the numbers don't change. So, I want families to know we have plans. This isn't something that we take lightly. We were working on our plans in June and July for August, September. We're working on our plans now for the future. So it's nothing that we're spending weekends doing. We could start school next week. The transportation routes are ready. The classrooms are ready. Shifts and changes in schedules are ready. But the conditions aren't such that we would do it. So I want families to know that there are plans in place, but we will only do it when the health and safety guidelines of our local health officials are in full agreement with what we want to do.
Very good.
I think that's a very important message, and that's the only message I have this evening.
Thank you. All right, and so nothing else? You're good?
That concludes the superintendent's reports for this evening.
Wow, okay. All right, so let's move on to agenda item 8, which is our Board of Education Committee report. Under athletics, Mr. Nicholson, do you have anything?
I have a few things. Good evening, everyone. As you know, we just seemed like we started fall sports a little while ago. We're now concluding fall sports. The regular seasons are over. Our teams are participating in the OSSAA tournaments. Girls soccer finished last night. We have boys soccer playing at Cuyahoga Falls tomorrow night. The football team's got a huge game up at Austintown Fitch on Friday, which is a rematch of an earlier game that was a really good game. YSN will be live streaming the game, as well as WKBN.com. I've put that on our website. I've put it on my Twitter site. The game will be on tape delay on regular TV immediately after the World Series is done being played on Friday evening. Winter sports are going to be a conversation that everybody's bringing up. We've been waiting on some guidelines from the state. They sent some recently. We've had some plans on how we plan on attacking seating and logistics with social distancing and everything. We will discuss that even further at our next athletic council, which will be this Thursday. So, any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anything for the finance advisory? I know no upcoming meetings or anything like that are scheduled.
No,
I have.
schedule.
No.
Board policies and guidelines.
No.
Okay. Legislative, the only thing that I have, I've got the delegate assembly briefing, which is this Thursday, the 22nd at 6:30 via Zoom. So I'll be attending that. And then next week on the 29th is the actual delegate assembly, where I will vote on behalf of the district. So that'll happen on the 29th. Okay.
Okay.
Regina, did you have anything to add?
No, only that in the case that you're not able to attend, and I'll attend in your place.
But as of right now, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of glad because we don't have to go to Columbus.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm loving the Zoom.
Mhm.
All right, TCTC, Mr. Faulkner.
Yes, just a couple of things to follow up on what the superintendent had said about the student of the month, Makila Powell. Just want to add that she is one of the students in the dental assisting programs doing extremely well. And she has been selected to go to Youngstown State University in the morning to be a part of a program in their dental assisting. So she's going to be there with them which is quite an honor. And so we should all be very, very proud
Yeah.
of all that she. And so if you know her, of her parents and all, just congratulate her. Also, I want to congratulate another one of our students. Some of you may know this Haley Stevens. She actually placed third in the state of Ohio in the animal science program. In all the states, she placed number 3. So our students continue to do well. And I just wanted to pass that on to everybody, that they continue to do well.
Very good.
Thank you. All right, do we have anything under old business? Anything under new business? All right, so let's move on to the agenda. On page 3, item 1, Mr. Fowley, please.
It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the September 2020 board minutes be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding this? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 4, item 2, Mr. Walker, please.
Yes. Monthly financial statement. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the September 2020 financial statement and short-term investments made by the treasurer during September 2020, Exhibit A, pages 36 and through 37, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 6, item 3, Mr. Faulkner, please.
Yes. Approve the application and accept the grant and approve the grant appropriations. It is recommended a resolution listed below to approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriations number A be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley, or
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner, I should have said.
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 7, under superintendent's recommendations, Mrs. Patterson, please.
Superintendent's recommendations, agreements, contracts, and/or leases. It is recommended the resolution listed below entering into agreements, contracts, and/or leases A and B be approved as submitted.
Second, Faulkner.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 8, item 2, Mr. Fowley, please.
Ohio Department of Education certification for Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Ohio Principal Evaluation System. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the Ohio Department of Education certification for credentialed Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Ohio Principals Evaluators be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions? Just congratulations to those individuals. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 9, item 3, Mr. Walker, please.
Yes, declaring transportation impractical. It is recommended the resolution listed below
declaring transportation impractical, be approved as submitted.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this?
I have a question. I've noticed in the list of students, to families for which we've denied transportation, they are attending two schools, both of which are outside of Trumbull County. My question is, will there be others? Will we have another list like this later in the year, or is this it?
Absolutely. It's a rolling list. When families request transportation, then we review it on an individual case-by-case basis. First, we determine if they're eligible or not eligible. If they're eligible, then we determine if they're practical or impractical based upon the criteria in the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have a second with that?
Yes, we did.
I'll second.
We had one.
Okay. And then call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 11, item 4, Mr. Faulkner, please.
Yes, the Ohio School Council Cooperative Advertising and Receiving Bids for School Bus Chassis and Bodies is recommended resolution listed below. The Ohio School Council Cooperative Advertising and Receiving Bids for School Bus Chassis and Bodies for the 2020-21 school year be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions?
I think this is just for the new board members. This is just a continuation of what we've been doing as a cooperative group of securing the buses, and we're doing very well. We're trying to replace at least a couple of new buses each year. That's working out very well for our fleet. So we're getting there. Very good.
Agreed. Okay, go ahead and
That's correct.
call the roll, please.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 12, item 5, Mrs. Patterson, please.
Warren City Schools Local Professional Development Committee meetings. It is recommended the resolution listed below changing and establishing meetings for the Warren City Schools Local Professional Development Committee for the 2020-2021 school year be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 13, item 6, Mr. Fowley, please.
Acceptance of gifts. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the acceptance of gifts be approved as submitted. There were 2 gifts recorded for this board meeting from the St. Paul Lutheran Church and the Shoe Carnival, 110 pair of shoes valued at $900, and from Ms. Nancy Williams to the Warren City School District, 30 sets of hat, gloves, and scarves, the estimated value of which is $300. And we are very grateful to our donors.
Second.
Okay, any other comments? Just thank you again to our donors. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Faulkner? Or Mr.
Yes.
Fowley, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. And on page 14, item 7, Mr. Walker, please.
Yes. Tuition reimbursement. It is recommended the resolution listed below for tuition reimbursement be approved as submitted. And congratulations to all of those who have furthered their education for the purposes of their positions.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 15, item 8, Mr. Faulkner, please.
Yes, this is the personnel recommendations and recommend the resolution listed below regarding personnel items A through M be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, that takes you through to page 33. We do have one military leave, and we'd like to thank that individual for their service
Right.
to our nation. Does anyone have any other comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, if you'd like to call the roll, please.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Abstain.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. Okay, that will conclude that part of the agenda. We'll move, there's nothing under board recommendations. Public participation, we do not have anything. We have no further need for an executive session. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Second that.
Thank you. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yeah, the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone,
Yay.
for joining us this evening. Please continue to be safe and healthy out there. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance. Let's get through all of this so that, hopefully someday we can get back to normal.